gentlelady from the Virgin Islands, Ms. Plaskett. A distinguished
Joe
member
Woman
of
is
the Virgin-
recognized for 45 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I hope my colleague from Wisconsin will not leave at this time, as he's talked about Black Lives Matter. How dare you? How dare you say that Black Lives Matter? Black people do not understand old-fashioned families. Despite some of the issues, some of the things that you have put forward that I've heard out of your mouth in the Oversight Committee, in your own district, we have been able to keep our families alive for over 400 years, and the assault on our families to not have Black lives or not even have Black families.
That's weird to say that. For 400 years, Black people have been keeping themselves alive. Well, 240, no, not really 240, but close to 240 of those years. You really mean to tell me that people want to kill people just for no reason that they own? We know what slavery was, right? What slavery was, specifically, slavery was specifically a thing where people used Black people's labor for free for their own gain to garner wealth. Who the fuck would want to kill somebody who makes them money and they don't have to pay them shit? They pay them nothing. You mean to tell me somebody was trying to kill you then? No, they weren't. For the most part, they were actually trying to preserve Black people at that point. They did not want to actually kill Black people during slavery because that would be counterproductive to buy slaves, which were very expensive, and kill them. Like, that is money just down the drain. They might as well flush it down the toilet, only I don't think they had toilets back then to flush their money down. But that would be a perfect way to flush your money down a toilet, is buy a slave and just kill them off. That is not how that worked, okay? So saying that Black people have preserved their families and tried to keep each other together or to try to stay alive, these things were not happening during slavery. One, also on families, well, Black people did not manage to keep their families together because slavery literally honestly broke families apart and so forth. This is why when we talk about Black culture and things of that nature, there is no such thing because we have no connections to our families. The only families we really have a connection to, being completely legit and honest, is our non-Black families. And it's what it is. I know a lot of people don't like to admit that, but that's just the truth. When you look at our last names, we obviously have a connection to certain people, and sometimes they're not our family, and sometimes they are. This is just what it is. I mean, like, for example, my mother's last name is a family name, basically. And considering Black Americans are 1/4 white, that's safe to say that at least a fourth of your family names are literally a family name, like biologically. So anyway, I was just pointing that out to point out that we have no ties to our actual Black families. We don't. We were cut up from our families. We did not even carry their names. We don't carry their languages. We don't carry their food. We don't carry their customs, not the religions. In some cases, we have gone back to our religious faith that originally were, like, in my family, we're Muslim, but between that time, we weren't Muslim, and then we were, and before slavery, we were Muslim. So, there's that. But for the most part, Black Americans generally do not take much of their family ties, and it's not like you even know what your family ties were at the time before slavery. There was nothing cultivated by black people during slavery, so you can't really say we did really much of anything on that regard. I think, yes, there were some black people who were smart enough to run away, and, you know, for the most part, though, most black Americans are not descended from runaway black slaves. Most are descendants from black people who asked white people to free them. That's just the reality of it. And the mentality of that is powerful. But anyway, continue.
Families. How dare you say that we are not interested in families in the black community? That is outrageous. That should be stricken down. I was going to talk about the American Rescue Plan. We know that this is going to provide relief to not only black lives, black Americans, but all Americans, that we are interested in children and in their welfare. And at this time, I yield back.
I find that kind of weird when people say things like that. They care about black families and black children and other children and so forth. But I mean, like, the main thing killing children, black children specifically, is abortion. And you like to keep that running and, like, make sure that every black child has access to abortion so then they can no longer exist. I don't think whatever policy you have going is really going to help, black lives, at least on that level. I mean, to me, it just seems like a bit of a facade rather than actually reality, but continue. Anyway, that's not what I'm doing this video on. It's just I'm reacting to different parts of the video, so let's continue. Oh, there's a commercial. Sorry, guys.
What's up, everyone? It is Books and Looks TV. Today, I will be talking about a sensitive topic, and I don't have all the answers. It's just my opinion on a lot of things that I have experienced, observed, and studied as a Black Southern woman in the United States. And so, I thought it was important to talk about it. So, I'm going to talk about it and let it be known that you don't have to agree with me, and I don't intend to offend anybody. But again, this is my experience, and I think it's worth discussing. So today, I will discuss the variances of Blackness as a social construct in America, and how this has resulted in anyone with a pinch of Black ancestry and or a vibe or feeling, associate, identifying, and contributing the erasure of Blackness. During this video essay, I will examine some of the dark history of race as a social construct in the United States, how Black has been interpreted and utilized for personal gain, and how many others view it as a core sense of pride in their heritage for generations in the United States. So nowadays,
I find it funny you talk about that and then show people that many black people try to look like. Like, I mean, let's be honest. Do we see natural African women who look like Bad Baby or, for example, Kim Kardashian? No, we don't. Instead, we see Arab, Italian, Jewish women who look very similar to Bad Baby or Kim Kardashian. And it's so funny because a lot of black women get very heavily angry at women like this. And it's like, I understand why, because when they have this whole idea of black fishing and everything, they always are telling on themselves. Why do I say they're telling on themselves? Because the reality is they're white fishing, basically. And when they whitefish, what happens is that they basically try to get a look like Kim K. They try to get a look like Bad Baby. They really get mad at Bad Baby because Bad Baby has Jewish features. They try to have Jewish features, in several different ways. And I think it's kind of like If these whitewashing black women could choose, they would try to look like white women. But since they're so far away from white women, they try to look like Arab women. And then also, there's also the whole thing of the ambiguous phenotype that has come about, and a lot of different people of different ethnicities that kind of don't have that ambiguous phenotype get jealous of. And so that's why they get very jealous of Arab women, you know, because Arab women have more of a phenotype that is, more ambiguous, and it is just what it is. A lot of people get jealous of women who are very hard to tell their race. And that's basically why you see people like this showing. People like Kim K or Bat Baby, who look nothing like black women. Do we see sub-Saharan black women in Africa looking like Kim K? We do not. Do we see sub-Saharan African black people who look like Bad Baby? No, we don't. The people who look like these women are not black. We see them in the Middle East, we see them in North Africa, we see them in Southern Europe. That is all the Mediterranean race, by the way. So it's a whole different race than the black race. But black people like this one will delude themselves into thinking that somehow they see Kim K when they look in the mirror. I don't know why. Anyway, continue.
There has been a lot of quarreling and outrage on who is considered black and who should depict black people in film and common spaces, especially if you even want to consider.
And that's just so weird. I don't understand why people always bring up that crazy Sean King or whatever. It's not, I don't understand. To me, I feel that is a bit colorist why they will pick on him, but they won't pick on Mike Tirico. Like, their situation is the same. In fact, I think Sean King's is a little bit less problematic actually than Mike Tirico's, because Mike Tirico specifically, I don't think his mother disclosed his father, but we get that he's probably half black, but that's because of his skin being darker, and nobody really questions him. Nobody is angry at him for looking dark. Nobody's angry at him for looking black because they understand he can't control it. But when it comes to Sean King having slight African features, then people blame him as if he can help it. And it's like, he can't help that he looks partly black. He can't help that his mother got confused on who his father was. He can't help any of these things. It's the same situation as Mike Tirico. Mike Tirico's mother got confused on who his father was. So it's the same thing here, but it's coloristic in the sense that people will put heat on Sean King when he can't help that his, mother got his father wrong when he was born and then tried to change her mind and told him that, his father was actually black or part black or whatever, So to me, I just think like people need to stop with that. Even though the guy is freaking crazy, he is crazy. He's a quack. He's messed up. All that stuff. But to me, like he shouldn't be picking on people just because their mother has issues. They're a white woman who slept with white and black men, different men. Obviously, I'm saying a white man and a black man, and probably other types of men because some people are loose out there, But to me, like you shouldn't be blaming the person who is the product of that because they're just trying to pick up the pieces to what this person did to them, Maybe you could blame the mother, but like you can't really blame the like the not the father, the child of this situation. Anyway, continue.
Diversity and inclusion. People like Zoe Saldana is a mixed Hispanic woman who portrayed Nina Simone, an unambiguously black woman.
So, one, I don't understand why people try and act like Zoe Saldana is specifically mixed. I don't get that because both her parents are black. descent. Her mother, I guess you could say she's mixed race, and her father has Haitian and Dominican ancestry. He is black. She identifies as black. From what I see, she doesn't really say she's mixed. So I think she just identifies as black. And considering she doesn't have a parent that's of another race, I don't get why anyone is calling her mixed. That's so weird to me. Like, okay, if she's mixed, then isn't Beyonce mixed? Like, Beyonce's mother looks no different than specifically Zoe Saldana's mother looks. They look, I would say Beyonce's mother looks a little bit more non-black than Zoe Saldana's mother looks. So, I mean, and Zoe Saldana's mother, I believe, is Puerto Rican and Dominican, by the way. So she clearly has black ancestry in her. So I just find that really weird why people keep trying to call her mixed. She's not mixed. She's black. She identifies as black. She's a black Latina. That means a black person from a different country, basically. Now, if we're talking about the multi-generational mixing, black Americans do this as well as other black Latinas do this, okay? And black Latin Americans do this, okay? Everybody in the diaspora is a mix of black and European. You have Jamaicans who are black and European. You have Bahamians or whatever who are black and European. You have black Americans who are black and European. You have Dominicans who are black and European. Everybody is mixed with black and European. But the thing is that we're saying that they have, all these people have two parents that are of both those ancestries. So we don't have specifically a parent of another race. And Zoe Saldana does not have a parent that is of a different race. So that's one part of it. Also, the second part is, how are you going to try and attack Zoe Saldana and act like she's not a black woman? And you constantly do this. You attack brown-skinned women and then try to claim you're a brown-skinned woman. That's why I get so annoyed with these darker-skinned people who try to basically claim the brown-skin identity, then want to reject the actual brown-skinned black women. Because you want to usurp their identity because you don't like that they are lighter than you. I think you don't like being dark skinned, and so then you want to be brown, but you don't really want to admit what they are, because if you do, then you'll be exposed as the imposter. But yeah, I just kind of feel like, if you really understood, like if you were in the same position and you had a phenotype like Zoe Saldana, and people say that you can't play a black woman's role. One, to me, it's like this. You cannot hold people in contempt, because a lot of people, I know this lady, she's different, but a lot of people like to claim Zoe Saldana as a black woman, but then at the same time, they didn't want her representing black women. It was so weird. Like, a lot of people, especially in the early 2010s, had like some animus almost towards her, like, in this idea that they thought she was running away from blackness, and wanted so badly to say, yeah, she's so black and all this stuff, but then at the same time try and say she can't represent black women. So you don't even think she's black at that point. I think she thinks she's black. I've done videos showing how she clearly thinks she's a black woman. She thinks she's a black Latina woman, which is exactly what she is. Puerto Ricans are Latin Americans, okay? They are colonies. They have a historical colonization from the Spanish. The Dominicans, the same. The Haitians have a historical colonization with the French, which means they are Latin American. She is clearly Latin American. Through and through, she is Latin American, but her race is black, and she identifies as black. So I mean, like, I just get tired of the fact that people will have such contempt, but then still not want to accept women like her, or women who have her phenotype, as black. And as a person myself, I have Afrocentric phenotype than her, to be completely honest, facially, but skin tone, we're on the same point. I honestly feel the same problem. Because it's like, you really mean to say that you cannot represent dark skinned black women, and she cannot represent dark skinned black women, but she's supposed to claim to be black? This makes no sense to me. And it's like, to me, you have to understand, even if you identify as black, you have to sometimes understand what dark skinned black people are trying to say to you. And you have to read between the lines sometimes. You have to read and understand that you don't see brown skinned black people as black, really. You're just holding them in contempt because you're angry that they're lighter than you and you don't feel they're the same as you, but they're darker than other people, and you want to take advantage of that. You want them to never feel better than you. That's what it is. And it's weird because it's like, who the hell was feeling better than you? Why are you thinking through those lenses? Race should not be about that. Race should be about more identity and just like, well, culture and things of that nature, to me. Which, to me, I don't even think that's correlated with race. But like, race in itself, I don't think it should be like a sense of who's better than who. Why don't we get out of that realm of thinking of that? Why can't we just be who we are? Anyway, continue.
Woman in her biopic, and a lot of people were outraged about that because a lot of people felt that they could have just got a black woman and someone who suited her character, maybe even a singer, but instead Zoe Saldana, a mixed woman of color, was able to maneuver and use her pretty privilege to enter that space of acting. And some people even
Why do you always have this idea where you constitute pretty with mix? I don't see you saying that unambiguous black women who are dark skinned are pretty. You always say there's a pretty black girl who's dark skinned, and you say that they have more Eurocentric features. And you put them in the category of Eurocentric features. But why is it you don't talk about dark skinned, unambiguous black women who are just pretty because they're beautiful? It's not because they have Eurocentric features, it's just because they are pretty. Like, you act like dark skinned black people who are unambiguous can't be pretty. They don't have pretty privilege, no matter what they look like, because they're dark skinned and unambiguous. Why is it you constantly use beauty to equate to mixed features? This is such crooked thinking. It's crazy. It's not healthy, sweetie. It's not.
Been accused her of blackfishing or blackface because she presented herself with dark makeup on her face instead of simply not, deciding to play the role or stepping back and allowing others play that role. And
I find it so weird to say someone tanning is blackface, because when she apologized for playing this role, she was exactly this color. And she was not wearing makeup, like, to look darker. She just has a tan. That's all that is. Zoe Saldana is not always light brown colored. She's sometimes a deeper, darker brown. She is. So I don't understand why people like this get so confused and everything and start saying that, oh, it's blackfacing. It's blackfacing to tan your skin. It is not blackfacing to tan your skin. It is just a natural occurrence to your skin tone, basically. You change in skin tone. And this is the thing. She's going to talk about some things with white people tanning too, and Arab and Italian people tanning. It's constantly, they get jealous of people able to tan to different colors, because I think they get upset at the fact that some people can tan and then they're not stuck dark, And I think that's what they have an issue with brown-skinned women for. I've noticed this with browner skin or whatever these type of people are. These people, to me, are people that I would consider dark skinned, but you don't tell them they're dark skinned because they'll sometimes get upset at you. They act like you're being mean or insulting them or offending them by calling them dark skinned when they're just a darker hue to me. But anyway, many of the time it seems like they will act like when you have the ability to get much lighter in complexion, like something's not right or it's wrong or something, that you can get so much lighter sometimes and you can get so much darker sometimes, because I think they're upset that they're stuck darker, you know. And when you tan, it's only temporary. So you can always go back to your natural lighter complexion, and you can always tan back to a darker complexion to them. You can always represent them. And as the thing about brown skinned people, real brown skinned people, we represent light skin. We represent light skin in the winter. We represent brown skin in the fall and spring. And we represent dark skin in the summer. So we can represent basically every complexion. When it comes to casting and acting, we have that advantage basically, because we can basically represent any color at any time. All we have to do is get a tan, lose a tan, get a little bit of a tan, don't tan too much, whatever the color basically requires, that's what we can be. And that's the versatility of being brown skinned. But to me, it's just like, I just wanted to point that out, because it's like, I don't understand why people like this always try and fixate over people's tan and how much someone gets darker or lighter. Anyway, continue.
Then we have a host of other mixed and biracial women who are offcasted as Black women and take up Black faces. So to be Black in the United States is often popular in media because it provides a level of entertainment or coolness, but politically it has been often demised to humanity and progressiveness, because often being deemed as Black meant that you are a minority, property of the state, etc. Yet Black people have often aimed at redefining our heritage, telling our own stories. So today I want to examine a bit how we got where we are now and why being Black is popular by demand, yet erasure and infiltration, often in mainstream society, kind of puts us in the back of us being our and telling our own stories. So the outline of this video will cover an introduction, historical context, Black as a social construct in the United States, media representation of Blackness, and the emergence of ADOs. So I think many would acknowledge that Black is a social construct. There is no land in the world called Black. It is a word that is kind of basic yet profound on so many levels.
No, well, the Black race is a construct that was made in the 1700s and so forth. The Black race originally included sub-Saharan African people, specifically those of fully African, sub-Saharan African ancestry, and it didn't specifically have to do with skin tone, which is very important to note. It more so had to do with craniological structure, as well as some people could say hair texture. But yeah, like, it didn't have to do with skin tone, because Igbo people were always designated as part of the Congoid race or the Groid race as well. So it's like, it was craniological structure that made people Black or not Black, basically. A part of the Black race or not a part of the Black race. Continue.
The United States, being Black interchangeably after slavery. Of course, there were other names, often derogatory.
Also, one other thing, slavery defining race, I don't really feel is important or something we should go by, because the reason slavery defined race in the first place was for monetary gain. So, this was why they specifically said mixed people were Black. And they specifically said mixed people were Black if they had Black mothers. Is it really even that they really said that they were Black or just slaves? Well, it doesn't really matter on that front, but it makes sense why they would do that, because when it comes to reproduction with slavery, a major part of reproduction had to do with the white slave owner, because majority of those fathered by the majority of the people who were fathering slave children were white slave owners. It shows in DNA testing that 73% of the Black American ancestry and genome is Black American, and 25% is specifically European ancestry, as well as 1% Native. So it's basically over 50% of the fathers were specifically white American or Native American slave owners, because Native Americans owned slaves as well. So that's why, to me, it's very important to note this, because it was the mother who basically defined your race back then, and there were plenty of people who had mothers that were white, by the way, and they were not slaves. And anyway, the point is that, this was all monetary gain. It wasn't actual factual definitions of what the race was. It wasn't really important. What was important was about getting financial gain out of people and continuing these people, whether they were black or white, basically making sure these people were subjugated into slavery and able to be taken advantage of through slavery, basically, no matter what race they were. So even if they did have white in them, and even if they could be racially classified as white according to the original definition, it would not matter, because these people would always be black because their maternal lineage was black. So that's why I'm saying slavery doesn't define race, in my opinion. Slavery was just an event that happened, and it affected lots of people, black and white for that matter, because the majority of the descendants of slaves are actually white, not black. But yeah, it affected many different people and many different families, regardless of race. So anyway, continue.
Like darky, the N-word, monkey, etc. To be frank, Black people have often tried to reframe our identities and say things like, I'm African American, I'm Negro American.
Why would racial epithets for your race have to define the black race? You see, I feel like you're letting others define you, but there's reason for why black Americans are more susceptible to this. This may have to do with slavery and the way our families were basically split apart, and how we were basically brainwashed by certain people. Anyway, continue.
Etc. Or I'm just American. But behind the scenes, those
True,
in power
I agree
often
with American.
and white supremacy have made laws to keep blacks subjugated and taint the existence of anyone deciding to label themselves, and of course to dehumanize anyone associated with blackness, even if it was engaged, especially those who engaged in race mixing. And that's kind of where the one drop rule comes in, which basically states that if you have even a drop of black blood in you, you are black. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of people feel like this is outdated, but I bring this up to bring up a greater point again of how historically the one drop rule has added to how we black. Due to this, people with maybe great grandparents can say that they are black. And it's not always in a prideful manner, but more so as convenient, whether it's to like get in on a conversation or make something valid because they believe that they are black. And I'll get to that later. The one drop rule pretty much opens a gate of black variants or degrees of blackness, where people who don't have like black parents or two set of fully black grandparents could or again be deemed as black. And so
the thing about that is black Americans don't have a set of full black parents or grandparents, because everybody that takes the DNA test ends up with black and white ancestry. So how can you distinguish yourself as someone who is black and white ancestry and all of your grandparents are black and white, both of your parents are black and white, all of your great grandparents are black and white, and so forth? The last time you had a black ancestor that was actually fully African probably was in the beginning of slavery, not further from that point. Most black Americans were mixed by the end of the Civil War. That's just how it was because of all the mixing that occurred during slavery. So to me, it's silly to say, oh, if someone has a set of a set of black parents. Well, if they had a set of black parents, they have a set of fully African, sub-Saharan African parents that would be from Africa, most likely. Africans can have grandparents, great grandparents, parents that are fully sub-Saharan African. They take a DNA test, they are fully sub-Saharan African people. But black Americans do not have this concept because every black American has some European ancestry, regardless. So you can't really make a distinction there because you don't have black parents yourself, and no black American has fully black parents themselves. Continue though.
So I love this chart because it basically depicts how mathematically and socially people would categorize mixed black folks. I think it is critical for this video essay to define a lot.
You're missing in the chart. Like, why would you specifically bring up mulatto, quadroon, and octoroon, but you don't bring up Griff and Socotra? They're the same. Literally, a quarter white, a quarter black, an eighth black, an eighth white. They're the same thing. So if you're saying that those are mixed race categories, octoroon and quadroon, which they were, Griff and Socotra were considered mixed race categories as well. So, yeah. That's why black Americans are all mixed race, and black Americans have parents that are mixed race. Always. Continue though.
A lot of the terms I'll be using. So again, I'll reiterate the first term, one drop rule. The one drop rule is a social rule of racial classification by which those with any degree of black ancestry are categorized as black. The rule is uniquely American and can be traced to the slave era as an effort by white to maintain white supremacy, as quoted by Nikki Connor. Next, I'll be defining multiracial mix. Academia Española traces its origin to the word mulo in the sense of hybridity, originally used to refer to any mixed race person. English term mulatto is derived from the Spanish and Portuguese mulatto. Unofficial worldwide estimates of regions with significant mulatto populations are South America, the Caribbean, South Africa, North America, and Northwestern Europe, according to AAREG. By the 1500s, the Spanish term was used to describe mixed race offspring of black and white parentage, and it came into use in America by the colonial era. This is stated by Atlanta Blackstar. So basically, as you can see, multiracial mix is also often interchangeably with mulatto, and to this day, mulatto is usually a derogatory term. Some people see
Multiracial, I think, I think it includes the whole concept of mixing, basically. Because there's multiracial generationally multi-generationally mixed, and things of that nature. So, like, people who are biracial or mulatto, sometimes it can also include people who are black and white, not specifically half and half. By the way, you showed Halle Berry, who is less than 50% black. I don't understand why you guys show people that are less than 50% black, which is technically not the original definition of mulatto, as mulatto. You're going with a false narrative that black Americans are full Africans when they're not. Anyway, continue.
it as calling someone a mutt or just like be inhumane in general. And that is why the rapper who's now known as Big Lotto or Lotto, when she came out calling herself Miss Mulatto, people thought that it was culturally insensitive, even though she tried to like say that she was empowering the word as someone who hadn't been accepted as a biracial woman. were girls. People thought that, it was something that was too dark of racial history and again, culturally insensitive. And especially since she was entering the Black hip hop community, or especially since she was entering the hip hop space where she would have a lot of engagement with Black people and or fans, they thought that, well, they're actually, her fans criticize her. And she has like different conversations where she says, she feels bullied or she's not going to let anybody bully her. At the end of the day, she changed her name because it did have that much impact on her brand. And so next, I'm going to talk about other people who contribute to being Black by popular demand. So I've already talked about people like Zoe Saldana and Lotto, and you've seen pictures of Halle Berry and Ice Spice as people who would be considered biracial or mixed. And so next I'm going to talk about.
I don't get this. So, being from two different countries makes you biracial? I don't get that. How is Ice Spice biracial? I mean, Dominicans have black in them, and then Nigerians, well, most of the time, they're black. So then, wouldn't she just be black at this point? Again, it doesn't make any sense. You just pick and choose who is black and who isn't. And I think this goes down to skin tone in this situation, where because Ice Spice has lighter skin, then she, for whatever reason to you guys, has to be someone of, she has to be of, black and mixed ancestry, basically. But that's not how it works. But anyway, continue.
About transracial, and I think you do have to kind of like walk the walk if that's how who you are. Okay. So you feel that you walk the walk of a Black woman? Absolutely. Okay. So go ahead, get your line.
I just want to say, could you expand on that?
Well, I mean, I think, walking the walk in terms of philosophical and cultural, like what I was talking about as far as the broader definition, the Pan-African definition of Blackness, I think you're talking about then changing it to a Black woman. Is there a singular experience? Is there one experience?
Hey, what's up? My name is Dr. Jack Boyer. I'm a clinical psychologist. And I am a 2023 McDonald's Black and Positively Golden.
Absolutely. There are opportunities that I might not get that you can have only because of the color of my skin, not because I'm a smart, beautiful, amazing mother, entrepreneur. Now, transracial is this idea that people can be identified as another race. They feel maybe they was born the wrong race. Maybe they've lived around Black people, or maybe somewhere in their psychology they believe they are Black because they've adapted Black mannerisms or whatever, for whatever reason they want to be Black. Rachel Dolezal is someone I can think of when I think of this, as well as another group of people.
This makes no sense to say someone has black mannerisms, because there are no black mannerisms. What are black mannerisms? I think you mean a subculture, but a subculture is just some traits that some people have. And white people have them, and black people have them. And this is the thing. I think more white people have them because white people are the majority in society. And I feel like you guys act like they're appropriating when they're not appropriating. They're just being themselves. You just think that black people are supposed to behave a certain way. Now, I don't feel that the brain structure of black people has been studied well enough to imply that black people all have to behave a certain way. That's just something I don't really think has been proven, basically. So what do you mean black mannerisms or black personality? There is no black personality. This is racist thinking that black people behave a certain way, in my opinion. Anyway, continue. Well, have a
portrayed
personality.
themselves as black, and I'm going to put some clips in about that. But first, I'm going to talk about Rachel. So, Rachel was a white woman who was in the academic space, and she also worked for the NAACP. She presented herself as black. She even attended Howard University, where she sued them as a white student because she didn't get the financial aid she believed she deserved. So, after that stunt, she went into black spaces as a white woman with, I guess you could say, a perm, and presented herself as black, but quote unquote, maybe light skinned or biracial. And when people found out about it, they were really upset because they felt like she took an opportunity from someone who was black who could have been in this space, and she was speaking for black people and she wasn't black. And there are interviews where she justifies it, though her parents are the one who put her on blast in the first place.
Yes, her parents put her on blast because their son basically was sexually abusing one of the children they had of some sort, children he had. He's a sexual predator, basically. And Rachel Dolezal was going to testify against him, and because of this, the people basically came forward to basically character assassinate Rachel Dolezal. So you have to understand the context of why the parents were speaking. They're speaking to defend their son who sexually abuses children. That's something that people should pay attention to, one. And then, secondarily, out of that situation, specifically, the parents are saying they're white, right? But the parents originally said that they were white and Native American. So they are not people who specifically say or have always said in their life that they were just white. So they didn't teach her that she was just white. So, on the basis of her being white, well, I don't really know. I mean, like, she was taught that she was part Native American, part white. A lot of the time, with people who are mixed with white and Native American, they don't really fit in anywhere anyway because they can pass as white many of the time. But if they're really truly going to say they're mixed with Native American, there's a whole problem with that in itself. Because Native Americans don't always acknowledge people who are mixed with Native American. And then on top of it, many people who have Native American supposedly in their lineage are not actually part Native American. It could be that someone in the family is saying they're part Native American to hide the fact that they're part black. That happens quite often as well. So, I mean, that whole concept of her being raised to believe that she's part Native American and then learning that, she has to pass as white. Maybe she didn't want to pass as white. Maybe she chose to identify as a person of color. Now, the thing is, where she went completely crazy was trying to lie and say her father was a black man. Now, that was where, she was lying. But as far as how she was raised, she was not raised to think of herself as fully white because she was raised to believe she had Native American in her. And maybe she did hear that some people have come forth and said that they were part Native American and then they turn out to be black or part black. For example, Jessica Biels claims she's part Native American, or claimed it, before she actually found out she wasn't part Native American and she's actually 1% black. And if you look at Jessica Biels, you can see that she looks like she has mixed ancestry. To me, when I look at Dolezal, to me, I don't see completely white features. You can look at her nose, for one. I'm looking at her photo where she has blonde hair. The blonde, straighter hair, the thinner hair photo, she has a wider nose. She has not completely not completely Eurocentric features. If I was looking at her, I would actually think she was Latina, not specifically white. Not that I'm saying that I think she looks black. She definitely doesn't look black. And to me, in my opinion, in neither of these photos does she look black. She looks like what she is to me, white and native, possibly. So she looks similar to Latinas, who are literally white and native. They're mestizo on average. Um, like about 90% of Mexico's population is specifically of some native ancestry. Now, 60% of that population is specifically mestizo, which is white and Native American. So, yeah, a majority of Mexican Americans in America are literally a combination of white and Native American. And to me, she looks quite similar to them. So, yeah. People in that position tend to have identity issues and have issues with understanding where they're going to fit because they don't have completely Eurocentric features and they don't have Afrocentric features. They have more of other things going on. Like if she literally is part Native American, as her family stated originally, then, she has some of those features. So, yeah, to me, I don't know. That's a person with identity issues because there's not really a significant Native American population in our country for her to identify with to begin with. So, yeah. Anyway, continue.
A lot of people don't agree with the word transracial because, again, a lot of Black people feel like my body isn't a costume and I can take off my Blackness, and it's a privilege for you it's a privilege for someone who is non-Black to change and say, well, I'm Black today, or I feel Black. And
yeah, what you're saying is that those Black people feel jealous because they feel like they want to be able to identify as white and they feel they can't because they feel like their skin is so dark that they can't make it look like white skin. So they feel like, how are they going to pass as white? And they can't pass as white. So then if they can't pass for white, you shouldn't pass as Black. That's what she's saying there. Which is it's all sorts of dysfunction, honestly. Anyway, continue.
And oftentimes, people who have engaged in blackfishing, like Kim Kardashian or Bad Baby, have done things to present themselves as a Black woman.
No, Kim Kardashian has never presented herself as a Black woman. She's presented herself as half Arab because that's what she is. She's half Arab. So, I mean, like you acting like she's presenting herself as a Black person. No. I do think, like I said, there's a lot of Black women who do a lot of things to make themselves look like Arab women, to make themselves look like Italian women. They fetishize that type of phenotype more than any other phenotype, honestly, in my opinion. And it's that thing of looking more ambiguous and in the middle. And Arab women do have that complex of having like phenotype that can garner both sides. They can garner the Eurocentric features as well as the Afrocentric or less Eurocentric features put together. It's not that they're mixed, it's just that their phenotype is seen as more exotic. And, Black phenotypes are not seen as exotic because there's more Black people here. It's not that Black features are less or inferior. It's just that one is seen as more exotic because you see their features less often, So, yeah, Kim has not identified as a person of color, And also, on Ariana Grande, she literally tested on a DNA test to have actually Arab, North African ancestry, and Southern European ancestry. So she is not just European descent either. She's just like Kim Kardashian. Maybe a little bit more because her European ancestry is Southern European, so it's a little darker than, say, Dutch for like Kim Kardashian. So continue.
That they can still benefit from their white privilege. And that's where we also go into blackfishing.
So Kim Kardashian is white? How? If Arabs are white? Are we saying Arabs are white? Because I think she says in this that Arabs are not white. Do you know what Kim Kardashian's ethnicity is? How are you going to make a video and not know what Kim Kardashian's ethnicity is? You're putting so many photos and video slides of her in here, but you're not even paying attention to what ethnicity she is. She's literally half Arab. So I think you're barking up the wrong tree if you're saying Arabs are not white. I think Arabs are white, of course, they're Caucasian, but I'm saying on the basis of what you're talking about. You're saying Northern European. There's no way that Kim Kardashian is Northern European. Have you seen Kim Kardashian when she was a kid? She looks like a darker person. She is not a light, fair, white, blonde hair, blue eyed woman. She wasn't as a girl. She's not now. She'll never be. I don't even think, well, I guess she can, maybe. Maybe she can have kids with somebody who is blonde hair, blue eyed, and have kids that are blonde dish. You can see this with Courtney. Some of her kids can look a little bit light. And you can see this with Chloe when she was a kid, but they'll darken anyway. So even if they were born blonde, they would become darker over time. They're not fair white people. They're just not. It's because they're part Arab. They're half Arab. So yeah,
Where
I guess mixed to you guys.
where some people will literally get on Instagram and present themselves as black, or they'll get a BBL, or they'll get a tan, and try to tell black women or black people.
I don't understand how they think that Bad Baby looks anything but Jewish, too. It's so weird. Have you seen Jewish women? Jewish women look like this. Like, they have curlier hair, they have thick hair, she has the nose. She definitely has a Jewish nose and Jewish lips. I mean, like, she has their features. Like, she's a Jewish girl. What do you think? Her father is 100% Jewish, I believe. I don't know. Is her mother fully? I mean, is her mother half Jewish? I thought her mother was half Jewish, but she's a good chunk Jewish. And so, of course, since she's a good chunk Jewish, she's gonna look like a Jewish woman. Like, you've never seen a Jewish woman? Honestly, I feel like if we were talking about appropriation, isn't all the twist outs and the texturizing and what black people do to 4C hair to make it look like 3B hair, 3C hair, that is culturally appropriating Jewish hair, because Jewish hair is usually like 3C, 3B, 3A. That's usually what their hair texture is. You're claiming a hair texture you normally don't even have. Black people normally don't have 3B, 3C, or 3A hair, but you're trying to claim it. Please stop. Please stop being so deluded that you think that even hair texture that isn't yours and is actually native to the people that it's native to, and telling those people that it's native to that that's your hair texture when you guys don't even have that hair texture normally. I don't have that hair texture, by the way, just pointing out before anybody tries to say that I'm trying to degrade black women for not having 3 hair, which I honestly think 4C hair is very beautiful, big, thick hair. So, I mean, like, don't even come for me like that.
What it means to be black, and to me, it's just another form of a minstrel show. And nowadays, to me, I see it as digital blackface, because it's not like someone going on a physical stage like back in the day where they would paint themselves with dark skin and make fun of black people. Now it's somebody who's literally living an experience and saying that they're black, and they're profiting off of it. And again, they're trying to tell black people, or tell people in general, what it means to be black, and they get a pass. So it seems like it's
No one's doing that, though. In fact, you showing, for example, Bad Baby, who said, "Who wants to be black?" or something along those lines. Like, she didn't want to be black. So, I mean, she's not trying to claim you. You, I think, honestly, are the one who's the minstrel, in my opinion, because you're the one who's trying to look like them. You're the one who's trying to claim them. I mean, look at your hair. Is your hair really that textured? Because, I mean, like, that is definitely mimicking Jewish hair. I'm just saying. That's mimicking Jewish people's hair, mimicking many Semitic people, like Arab women's hair. That's who you're mimicking. You're mimicking them. I get tired of the fact that people try and act like this. Like, I remember some people were trying to compare Beyonce to the Kardashians, or saying that they were trying to look like her or something. When the girl is staying in a blonde hair, that's not her natural texture, lightening her skin with foundation or makeup or whatever, because her face is brighter than her body, contouring the face to none other levels, okay? Like, to heavy levels. I mean, if you're really talking about this, I mean, like, everything that a Get Ready With Me states that you do for Black women literally makes them into looking more like Jewish or Arab women. And I don't really even care. Sometimes they look really nice that way, But to be trying to say that how you look when you get all glammed up in a Get Ready With Me is how you naturally look. You've deluded yourself to this point where you think you naturally look like an Arab woman. You think that when you look in the mirror, you see Kim Kardashian. You think when you look in the mirror, you see a Ariana Grande or Bad Baby. You are delusional. You are crazy, okay? That's how I feel. You are fucking crazy that when you look in the mirror, you think you see Kim Kardashian. Because you're saying she looks like a Black woman. So you must look like Kim Kardashian, naturally. When you wake up, you really look like Kim Kardashian. Well, if you did, you wouldn't be so jealous. Let's be honest. If you look like her, you wouldn't be so jealous. We don't see Arab women freaking out over Kim Kardashian that much on her looks. It's more so her behavior and other things that she does. That's, they'll question her morals and things of that nature, but they're not going to really have much issue with her looks because they look like that too. They don't have an issue. You have an issue because you don't look like that and you want to. That's your problem.
A bit worse than it was then, in my opinion. Lastly, I will discuss passing and or white passing. So passing generally is someone who maybe they were born from the one drop rule idea. So they could be biracial, or, maybe their great great grandparents was Black. And to be considered Black was considered wrong. And because they weren't fully Black, or because of their phenotype, they could pass as someone white. J. Edgar Hoover is someone who identified as white, but a lot of people, because of the one drop rule, identified him as non-Black.
Yeah, I looked this up. This is not true. His ethnicity was specifically white. Some other rumors were true that, it seemed like may have been true that he may have been gay or maybe even possibly transgender, but not specifically his race. Anyway, I just wanted to put that in there.
They were so afraid of him in his hometown that they didn't speak about it. There are different stories, and I believe even books that talk about it. But what's ironic is that J. Edgar Hoover specifically targeted Black people, Black leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., Black Panther Party, etc., saying that they were a threat to national security. But most of them just wanted rights for Black people.
Black Panther was a violent party. What are you talking about? Of course, I mean, like any other gang or whatever would obviously be targeted because they're violent. It doesn't matter that you experience misfortune in your life. You don't have a right to be violent to others. Anyway, continue.
So often people who pass as white, they often adapt to the ways of whiteness to be accepted. Not saying that like everyone who's white is evil, but a lot of times people who pass as white.
So the way of whiteness is specifically to be racist? But if I don't understand what you guys are thinking. So you mean to tell me you think that white people have been racist to Black people all this time? Had situations where white people literally went during slavery, tried to free Black people who were enslaved, who refused to be freed, by the way. So that was kind of on Black people. And died and got hanged for specifically trying to free Black people. And somehow you think like all the things that happened during slavery and all the abolitionists, all the people who specifically fought and died during the Civil War and so forth to free black people. And somehow, white people are racist. That's the way of white people. Like, it's a majority of what white people are. If this is the case, then black people would be enslaved today. There's nothing that black people could do to not be enslaved today. Black people could be re-enslaved today if the majority of white people believed that black people should be re-enslaved today. That's just the truth. Our country is run by the majority, and the majority of society is white. So since the majority of society is white, they could choose tomorrow to enslave everybody. They could choose tomorrow to bring back Jim Crow. They could choose tomorrow to bring the Holocaust on black people if they so choose if they wanted to. That's just how America is, because the majority of people are white. So you can't say that most white people are evil, most white people are racist. If most white people were racist or evil, well, then you wouldn't be talking on YouTube. You'd be serving somebody in some slave plantation, or you'd be dealing with Jim Crow. I don't know. Like, come on now.
White will engage in act to be perceived as white. And it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It's just, again, getting that protection with your complexion. So as you can see, there's a bit nuances onto who is black, or, what's considered black and who can represent blackness. And because of that, a lot of black Americans have decided to identify with ADOS. ADOS basically means American Descendants of Slavery. It's a term referring to descendants of enslaved Africans and the area that would become the United States from its colonial period onward, and to the political movement of the same name. Both the concept and the movement grew out of the hashtag ADOS, created by Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore. Now, again, for some people, it's a sense of like racial pride, and there are some who people would consider extremists. But again, I think it's just a lot of times it can be a defense mechanism, because a lot of black people do feel like, well, if I don't define my blackness, then other people will speak for me, and there will be just no sacredness in my identity. So I do understand the need for a lot of people who do identify with ADOS. So this is a picture of the U.S. Census. It shows that among the U.S. black population, both multiracial and Hispanic numbers have grown sharply since 2000. And from 2000, you see that the U.S. population was 36.2 million, and as by 2010 it grew to 42.1 million, and by 2021 it states that the U.S. black population is 47.2 million. But again, there are people who identify as black, Hispanic, multiracial, and single race. And again, what can make this so ambiguous is that there are people, again, who do identify as black, Hispanic, or black indigenous, whether it's ADOS or being Native American or just being like multi-ethnic. And so in general, you do see that there's an increase of the black population, but in the United States, the black population is still considered a minority. Ironically, there are more black immigrants coming to the United States.
That's right. There is a minority of black people, and that's why you have to understand. I don't understand people who are like this, who are like aggressively negative towards anything that doesn't look like them. Why do you live around people who don't look like you? Like, you should go where there are people who look like you. Go somewhere, maybe in Africa, find your specific tribe, because you'll be aggravated by some of the Africans there that don't look like you. So go to your specific tribe and find some people there that look exactly like you. Like, why do you want to go to places where there aren't people that look like you, and apparently you need that? To me, it's like, I understand some people are racist. They judge people based off of their color, and they don't like people who don't look like them. And this happens with black people like this, or whatever she is, and white people, mixed people, Asian people, whatever the race. You you see this. But why do these people try to associate and live in multi-ethnic countries like America, where you're gonna see other races? Like, if you're racist, go where there are no people of the race you don't like and stay there? Why be so exclusionary and hateful towards the people who you live around and are the majority of society? It makes no sense. It's mentally ill, honestly. It's crazy. Because why are your behavior and what you say is not lining up with your actions? If you really feel such negativity towards people of other races like this, then why don't you put your actions into it? So that's all I have to say. Thanks for watching, everyone. Like and subscribe, comment down below, and have a great day. Bye, guys.